Today's question is, psychologists, therapists, counselors, etc. What are some things people tend to think are normal but should really be checked out?
Inability to regulate your own emotions. Also, negative self-talk. We talk to ourselves way worse than any person could. A good rule of thumb as to whether a behavior or symptom should be checked out is the same we use to determine a diagnosable disorder, if it causes impairment in one or more areas of life. The range of what is normal is huge, but if something keeps you from going to school or work, keeps you from maintaining basic hygiene, from maintaining your friendships/familial relationships/romantic relationships, it's causing impairment and you should seek help. Edits. Wanted to clarify a few things. This is not an exhaustive criteria for diagnosable mental illness. There are many criteria we consider in diagnosing, but the one criteria that is present for all is that it must cause impairment. Enjoyment is also an important aspect of functioning. If you are getting by in your life but are miserable, get help. You don't have to live like that. Serial killers and sociopaths represent a very small percentage of the population and rarely seek help willingly. This was not directed at them. The areas of functioning I listed are general examples pulled from the Western culture where I live and was trained. Different cultures have different values, and the norms of your culture should be taken into account. If you are unbothered by your level of functioning in these areas relative to cultural expectations, good for you. Most people considering this advice likely have a sense that something is not where they want it to be in their life and are looking for confirmation that it's bad enough to seek help. If you're not concerned, my advice is not directed at you. No one is saying that being content with having no interpersonal connections is inherently pathological. Thinking that 5 hours of sleep per night is okay. Rapid weight gain or loss with no obvious medical costs. Relationship problems. Don't get me fucking started. Research psychologists checking in. If your toddler is doing socially unusual behaviors such as not responding to name, not responding to a social smile, not pointing/using gestures, using your hands/arms as if they were a tool or extension of their body, engaging in repetitive behaviors, not responding to your use of gaze to direct their attention to distal objects. Check with the pediatrician about getting assessed for autism spectrum disorder. People normalize abusive behaviors by loved ones all the time. Being able to identify your own personal boundaries and then enforce them with others for your own well-being is, unfortunately, not innate. Therapist here. If you grew up with or currently are a part of a family where the whole family has to work to keep one or more members of the family in a good mood or appeased, that's not healthy. People are in charge of their own feelings. It is not your job to appease others so that they can emotionally regulate themselves. There have been a lot of my patients who have been pretty surprised when I've told them, hey, that's anxiety/depression, when they just thought their behaviors were typical for everyone. Not being able to maintain friendships. Constantly being nervous about the safety of your child, to the point where you hate being alone with your child without your partner. Not being able to motivate yourself to do things, especially things you once enjoyed. Feeling excessively tired all the time. Not being able to calm down and just thinking about the same thoughts over and over and feeling worried. Other things we can help with. Having a hard time trusting others. Trying to recover a relationship from infidelity. Not knowing why your kid is misbehaving so much and needing guidance. Helping to improve communication within your relationships. If you experience these things, and more, therapists can help. Let us help you. Edited to add. I've noticed cost coming up in a lot of these replies. I hate that cost is such a barrier for people. Sad face. Sometimes colleges offer free or discounted therapy from their students. When you're training to be a therapist, you spend at least 1 year working as a therapist while meeting with a supervisor each week to consult on your cases and get guidance on moving forward. My college unfortunately didn't offer discounted sessions, but I know many do. It might be worth checking out. Some systems also have charity care options for people with low incomes. That can be worth pursuing as well. To find a therapist, if you're in the US, you can call your insurance company and get a list of places that take your insurance. That's a good place to start. I've seen a lot of people dismiss their depression/other mental illness because it's not that bad, or other people have it worse, or I can/should be able to handle it on my own. You shouldn't have to suffer through mental illness even if you technically can. You deserve to be happy, and therapists and psychiatrists are there to help you learn how to help yourself. It's not a weakness to find someone who can assist you in figuring out coping skills or prescribe you medications to help fine-tune your brain's neurotransmitters. The need for some parents to speak with their children about adult problems. No, your young child does not need to be aware that you are struggling financially or that daddy slept with the lady next door. The parents that tell their children that they are going to go and speed my car into a tree purposely, kill myself while you are at school, or slit my wrist when I shower tonight. And parents that feel they need their children fixed as it's the child and not the family unit as the whole that needs support and/or assistance. Just a few recent ones I've heard. Edit. Sorry about format. Commenting via mobile phone. Edit. Thanks for the gold. My first one. Smiley face. Edit. In regards to financial comments, taken from a previous comment of mine as I've been getting asked to answer this. I'm talking more on the extreme side and towards children that have been extremely hurt, and money talk was used as a tool to make the child feel at fault and guilt to some degree. I'm currently working with a child now that is triggered whenever he hears talk about finances and feels it's his fault they will eventually become homeless. They won't, but this is what he is told. If only he didn't eat so much. If only he didn't have so many school fees. Not to mention the arguing between carers over finances. This must be his fault though. They're yelling and shouting because of this. Psychotherapist here. Some things I see regularly that could have been caught earlier before they became a problem. Unhealthy coping mechanisms. For example, drinking to relax frequently or smoking a lot. Even something like promiscuity can be a red flag that a person is trying to avoid dealing with something stressful by distracting themselves. Self-harm. Hitting yourself, banging your head on things, burning yourself on purpose, cutting yourself, etc. All of those things indicate that it's time to talk with a professional. Normal child/teen behaviors that are not actually normal, like running away or getting into fights. Not communicating. When this happens, something is usually wrong, not always, as some folks are quieter than others. But if a child/teen/adult rarely speaks, or if they are silent in the presence of their parent or significant other, it's time to get them to see a professional alone to have their safety assessed. I've seen individuals who were literally shut down due to having been profoundly abused by the people they live with, and one of the main signs of that is silence. I've also seen people in perfectly good homes who cannot communicate due to extreme anxiety, and without professional help it's hard for them to overcome this. Mood swings. When a person's moods change from one extreme to another fairly often/regularly, that is another concerning symptom. Sometimes they are considered eccentric or hormonal, but that sort of thing can be a sign of many problems, from bipolar disorder to post-traumatic stress disorder. Hi, I'm a kid who fell through the cracks. Got diagnosed with dyscalculia when I was a sophomore in high school. Throughout the years, my parents would tell counselors, psychologists, etc. that something wasn't right, and it was more than me being bad at math. It took a really badass teacher I had pushing and advocating for me to get an official diagnosis before anyone did anything. I understand fully that sometimes parents can be a pain in the ass, but please, 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 if a kid is 15, 16 years old and is stuck at a 5th grade math level, look into it. TLDR, extreme emotions, lack or struggle with impulse control, blackouts, extreme irritability, disrupted sleep, muted or bottled emotions, feeling like an alien, feeling like everyone has an ulterior motive, self-isolation, preoccupation with pleasing others or avoiding conflict, feeling of emptiness, feeling like a part of your identity is missing or you don't have an identity of your own, subtle tendencies to latch onto others, especially romantic partners or crushes. Maybe sometimes you feel like you're just a tad too much, or maybe you've heard that from some exes. Went to school for forensic psych before I had to drop out due to my own unchecked mental illness. Turns out my worldview has been wrong my whole life, and I thought everyone was like this because my family members were like this. Even though I was in and out of therapy my whole life for depression and anxiety, nobody spotted the BPD because I didn't know these feelings needed talked about. Never caught the borderline until my head became such a dangerous place I wasn't sure I'd ever function again or be able to have the relationships I craved with my loved ones. Another example is my so. He's always had muted emotions, not a lot of expressed passion about the things he likes or believes are important, not even enough to vote before we got together. Most people with SPD will feel this detachment and think it's fine, but they can be really struggling and not know why or even not know that there's a problem, like heart disease. I won't lie that, in some cases, having schizoid is almost encouraged, work of nearly every kind. However, it very seriously impacts the quality of life for the person, sometimes making them feel like they have no place in this world. Hint: everyone needs a therapist. There are no exceptions. Perfectionism. While a spectrum and everyone wants to do good work, an obsession with perfection is not something to be proud of and definitely not healthy. Healthy work ethic is doing your best and then letting go, as in recognizing no matter how much effort you put in, the result is, to some extent, out of your control, and that's okay. The intent and effort counts more than the end result. If you get obsessed with the end result, only you will hurt yourself because you never have full control over your end result, but you do have full control over the intensity and dedication you will put in, even if that doesn't translate well. It is a fact of life, sometimes things don't work out, so people who never, and I mean never, have anything less than flawless work all the time are paying for it somehow. Burnout or mental stress or overtime or medication/drugs to keep going or etc. It is pathological to want, or to think you can realistically have, such control that your work is flawless all the time. And this is the end of today's video. I hope you liked it, and don't forget to comment an anecdote or experience similar to the topic of the video. Leave your like, share if you liked the video, and lastly, don't forget to activate the little bell so you don't miss any of our daily videos. Bye-bye.